Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about Steamdeck compatibility and some specific issue that I have been having with it. And I want to talk about it. Let's get right into it. And here we go. So, the problem that I have with this is the Steam Deck verified program. There is a lot of games that we have discussed that they are shouldn't be really verified, and the way that they verify the games is usually not on playability, on frame rates, but it is usually on something else. I don't want to discuss that, but have people have already touched on it specifically for the verified games. What I want to talk about is for the games that are unsupported. I have played quite a few games, if you can see here, that are perfectly playable, but may have specific issues or may not have any issues at all, and they actually never had any issues. So the games that I'm gonna talk about here is Under 19 Birth. I just bought it again. It shows here that if the Steam Deck compatibility for some reason is not working, that is actually not true. The only thing that doesn't work is the cutscenes, which is a thing that sometimes happens in Steam Deck. Some people have figured out some things like that, but outside of that cutscene, everything else works. I played online, I played offline, everything plays normally and very low wattage, everything is playable. Unlike a lot of other games with easy anti-cheat that you cannot play online, this game you can play online. The same applies to Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. It plays fantastically on 30 FPS. Sometimes you may have some dips, but in general it plays on the 30 FPS and you are playing completely fine. But again, since the very start of this game, it shows that it's not compatible, and I have played the majority of this game with no problem. Age of Empires 2. You are able to play this game, but you cannot play online because Xbox has this stupid thing that it needs you to log on, and every time that it has to log you on Xbox Live, it just stops working. But you can play campaigns, you can play everything offline. And if you have a mouse and keyboard, you can play flexibly. If you want to just mess around with the community layout, you can totally do that. Another game, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which is a fighting game. It plays the same as Under 19 Birth. You can play online. There is no problems at all except the cutscenes. And for these specific games, there needs to be some kind of communication because I think a lot of people will start, instead of investing into getting PlayStation 4s to have fighting game setups, which is a genre that is rising these days. And it's one that I'm heavily invested in. I love fighting games. So seeing this just makes me feel weird because just the cutscene not working, you almost never gonna encounter it as a problem to be unsupported, like completely unsupported, not even playable, and have an explanation that the cutscenes doesn't work. There's need to be extra filters for what it seems to be playable and what not, and also in my opinion, they have to do what they do for the verified games that they ask you, oh, is this performing as a verified game? They need to ask you for everything else as well, because maybe there are some games that says here playable. Well, Dota is not playable at all now, so why is it even there? So they need to give the community, and I know that this exists with the Decky Loader plugin, but it's a plugin. A lot of times it breaks and stuff. They need to have something that they ask the community, like, hey people, what is this game performing like for you? Is it playable? Is it not? And write a description why. Like how would you do for the verified thing? You should be able to do this so they don't have to do the heavy lifting. These games, as I said here, they're completely playable. And even these, if you don't play online, it is completely playable and may have some problems on the cutscenes. But there are so many games that this happens and there is no explanation at all. You just like have to go to external websites. I think with the way that Steam Deck tries to make itself like a completely separate thing that is an introduction to PC games, you want to cut off any additional things, even though it's cool, even though I like what they're doing with the plugins. I don't like that you only have a say to say if something is verified, but for the games that are working perfectly fine and have unsupported status, because, for example, maybe it wasn't working day one and then they never tested it again. Now, this game is doomed to show that it's not compatible, and it's up to the user if they're buying it for just Steam Deck. It's up to the user to do its own review and test out if it's working or not. They need to let people, in my opinion, I think that's the best thing, because the community that plays these games will be able to say, hey, this was not compatible, but now it is. Everything is working perfectly fine. So there should be either something that gives alerts like this to Valve and they are able to change the Steam Deck compatibility, or add something else to make it seem like which is playable and which is not. Because in my opinion, a cutscene not being able to play doesn't make the game unsupported. Everything else working completely fine. But then you have some situations like Call of Duty. Call of Duty doesn't play, okay? Doesn't let you because they have the anti-cheat. But there are so many games in here. Like you see, I play a lot of fighting games, but there's so many games in here. This one too, this one too, this one, this one, this one, this one. I'm not sure about this one, but I think it should be fine as well because it's Street Fighter V is working. So there are so many games that are actually playable. This one as well. There's so many games that are actually playable, and this one too, and this one too, that they have this status and it's actually hurting the game. Now you may say like whatever, I don't care. But imagine this moving forward. This is not the right solution to the unsupported for Steam OS situation. When you have on your unsupported, in my list at least, like half of the games actually working, why would you have them on an unsupported list? They need to give people the option and the opinion to express themselves and be like, look, these games are unsupported, but that's actually not true. And then Valve could look back on it and maybe change it from unsupported to playable and say, okay, everything is working, but cutscenes are not working. It's simple. When you have the ability to give the power to the people to do their own extensions on reviews like this, it works like Steam reviews. So you may have like a positive opinion about it, that it should be somewhere else. You have a different opinion that for some reason like an update broke the game and the launcher, you cannot even click it anymore. Stuff like that. They need to give people the ability to do that. What is your opinion about this? Please tell me in the comments below. This was the video for today. I hope you have a great day and see ya next time.